Welcome to the Impact Maker's Journey from Passion to Profits, the podcast showcasing heart centered coaches, experts, and energy healers who are on a mission to change lives and create meaningful success doing what they love. I'm your host, Wendy Vaughn, business success coach and founder of Impact Maker Coaching. And I've got to be honest, the path from passion to profits is rarely easy, but it's always filled with growth, clarity, and surprising rewards. Now, each week I sit down with inspiring impact makers who have turned their knowledge and wisdom into thriving businesses that are making a meaningful difference for others. I will explore their personal and professional journeys, how they found their calling, and how they continue to stay aligned with their passion along the way. So if you're here to expand your vision about what's possible for yourself, you're in the right place. So join me as we discover the positive ripple effects created by today's guest. All right. Hi there. I have my guest today, Sarah Carter. Now, Sarah is an executive leadership coach who works with those emerging and striving leaders. So welcome, Sarah. I am so excited to have you as my guest today.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am really looking forward to learning more about you, your entrepreneurial journey, right? And this important work that you're doing, because, for me, it's so interesting to kind of learn how that path has been unfolding. And it's always different. Everybody has a unique journey of being an entrepreneur. It starts, sometimes out of a wake-up call or a necessity or just this harebrained idea, like for me. And typically, the journey includes lots of what I call opportunities for personal growth. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you, are you the same person now as you were when you started out as a coach?
Oh, no, 100% not. So
Exactly.
you mentioned the journey and the different buckets of people. I was the person that was not wanting to be an entrepreneur. I had a
Oh,
job lined up. My husband had orders to San Diego. I'm a military spouse. We had orders to San Diego, had a job lined up. Then the next thing I know, the Marine Corps is like, you're going to Japan.
that sounds like the Marines. Yep, my son's a Marine, so
So, so we
just
get
just
there,
a slight pivot.
just a couple time zones, no big deal. So we get there, and I had no plan. This wasn't the direction I was going in, and
Right?
really making it up on the fly, cold connecting with people who did similar things. So yeah, very interesting entrepreneurial start.
All of a sudden, you're like, okay, well, what can I do? Plan A
Absolutely.
is not working out. Interesting. Well, and that journey, professional development, personal development, it pretty much goes hand in hand.
hmm
Uh, but overall, that from passion to profits is not easy. And I'm assuming that when you were reset in a totally new country,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise, that I'm guessing, did you lean into like what brings me a sense of joy and satisfaction, or did you like, hey, we got to make some more money?
Well, we were good on the money setting, so I had that as a luxury. But because I had just left the military and had just found this coaching thing as a new thing to me,
Oh,
it
so
was
you were in the military
before, yeah.
before.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you
Yeah,
married another
I did. I
armed
married a
force.
Marine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had just discovered the coaching thing, and I had a good sense that that's where my passion was, despite everybody telling me, do the thing you were trained for. I mean, they spent millions of dollars training you to be a pilot. Isn't that what you want to do? Um, and I was like, well, no, I have no passion for it, to use your words. There would be lots of profit in it, but I really had no passion for it, or I was burnt out, and at the time, it really didn't seem like a good idea.
Mm.
So I leaned into as much, I really loved leadership. So I leaned into all the opportunities I had to explore leadership options. What's out there? What can I learn more of? And I found myself and a couple of volunteer organizations, the Okinawa Leadership Seminar, which I got really involved in, some volunteer coaching opportunities as I was learning the trade of coaching. So I found these other things to validate my feelings that were bubbling up for coaching.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that gives you again testing the water, as we say, in
Exactly.
terms
Or
of
designing your life, Bill Burnett, throwing it out there.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Interesting. So, um, as you started leaning into that new, and at that point, well, so let me ask you this: how long have you been an executive leadership coach? When did you start
Since
that?
then, since 2018. So that's
2018.
7 years.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2018, yeah, the industry is still very young, the coaching
Mhm.
industry.
Mhm.
And so 2018, it was still kind of like you're a what? You do what? That
Uh-huh.
kind of realm. So did you have a specific, business strategy for when you started this business, or were you like many and just, well, let me see if I can find a few clients?
Lucky for me, the person who even put coaching on the radar for me, Valerie Burton, she's a Maxwell leadership coach, but she wasn't back then. When she put coaching on the radar for me, she had a school that was a boot camp, if you will. It's called Coach Training Intensive, where she does 3 days of teaching you the basics of coaching, but the bonus day is for business. And I took her playbook and was like, well, I guess I need this. I didn't think so when I first did the training because I thought we were going to San Diego. But when I ended up in Japan, I was like, I guess I need this. And that was like my life raft. And she, in there, outlined all the forms you'd need, what a basic website should look for. I mean, really everything
Mhm.
that was a starter kit for me.
Nice,
Mhm.
nice. Yeah, that always helps because usually it's a matter of, well, we'll just, talk to a few people, start getting clients.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like,
Well, it still was that. I still needed to I needed people to
yeah.
refer me. That was a big thing the seminar helped with because then they'd seen me and I was like, oh, and by the way, I coach. So that's how I got a
Mhm.
lot of clients. Word of mouth was definitely my most powerful tool.
Mhm.
Um, but it was still a constant every day. Hey, you know what I do? Hey, let me tell you about this thing. That was a lot of what I was spending my time on.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that the visibility is so important, but understanding the strategies that go into
Mhm.
effective visibility is a whole
Mhm.
different thing.
Mhm.
So talking about then specifically your work as an executive coach. So I know that your specialty is working with those emerging and aspiring leaders,
Mhm.
right? So curiously, what's a common misbelief or myth out there that has these kinds of leaders staying stuck, and not seeking to, or, I know that they're emerging leaders, but what are some misbeliefs that keep them from really accelerating?
Yeah. Common ones. I don't have time for insert your thing here.
Hmm.
But this belief that there isn't time for further development, that there isn't time for trying to do something a different way, that there isn't time for seeking outside resources because of the constant rat race of emails, the meetings that are never ending, all these reasons that they put in front of themselves is really a the lack of vision to see that if you don't invest in yourself, you will stay in this place.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Kind of just taking that new perspective that, well, instead of, nah, I don't have time, how could I make time?
Mhm.
Where could I find time?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
so easy to buy into busy, 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 but if you reframe it and look at it through a possibilist
Uh-huh.
perspective, it changes everything. So let's talk a little bit deeper in terms of, well, what's going on for these aspiring leaders, these
Yeah.
emerging leaders, that has them finally realize, you know what? The handwriting is on the wall. I need to, reach out to Sarah. We need to work together. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about what's going on for them.
Well,
That
the biggest thing I'm finding, Wendy, is I've started to call it shedding. I like to say delegation's kind of the root of it, but shedding of the things. You went from, most likely when I get people, they went from being a manager where they had a lot of stuff that they actually had to handle, like hands-on things as a manager you have to handle. But
Mhm.
then when they step into this leadership role, they still see that responsibility for those things and haven't yet realized that no, as a leader, you need to shed a lot of that because now your priority has shifted and it's people. So
Mm.
that's how they get caught up in this time thing is they just kind of tack people onto the stuff without shedding, making that break. That's what's
Right.
the stuckedness. So when they come to me,
That's
they're
what they
burnt.
know. That's all they
Right,
know is that's linked to success. It's kind
right,
of built in. So
right.
yeah, I can see how that would create a lot of challenges for them.
So they come to me burnt out, overwhelmed, can't see the further vision because of all of the things, and we work through what can you make space for? What do you need to give someone else? Because
Mhm.
you doing the thing is actually keeping that person from an opportunity. And then
Right.
what are your actual priorities?
It's interesting to me to hear you talk about this because it sounds like it's just almost like you were describing when you launch your coaching practice. It's like these are new role leadership 101 kind of basics. Okay, delegation, new values, new priorities. Let's shift everything.
Mhm.
But it sounds like that doesn't necessarily come with the promotion.
Right.
Oftentimes it's like assumed that
Well,
people would figure this out.
you'd think when you throw back to another book, what is it? Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
People still want to hold on to the cheese because it got them there. Like
Yeah.
that got
Right.
them there, that got them the success, it got them the recognition, but it's not going to keep you moving. It's actually going to become the cement.
Hmm. Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So after working with you,
Mhm.
now what is their reality like? What are they able to?
Well, I mean, reality, I hopefully am getting like the 5-star rating. Thank you, Sarah, for your amazing work.
No, no, not your reality, their reality. What is
No, 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 I know
what?
what you mean.
But
I'll give
I
you
like that.
I'll give you an example. One of the leaders that I coached, I wouldn't call him an emergency leader, emerging leader. We'll call him an established leader.
Okay.
And he was trying to further the impact of his organization and was just struggling with it. So we determined that influence was where he needed to lean, develop how he influenced, how he spread the word. And after he got that going, instead of him making the phone calls to where he needed to spread the impact, people were calling him. Now people were lining up of, I need you, I need you, I need you. I need this mission. I can't believe I haven't called you before. I knew you were out there, but I hadn't. So I strive for when people leave their time with me that they are the sought after or they are their job is easier.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it sounds like it's not only easier, but it's also more successful, right?
Hmm. Yep.
They're more successful in their role and it's easier,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
So what is without obviously going into all of your process and methodology, what is the uh, for lack of a better word, the secret sauce? What is it that your superpowers are able to support people in a way that kind of accelerates that transition to being, having to manage and control and being in this burnout cycle to now being able to fully own a new leadership role, command it with success, and enjoy, this new level of success. What is,
Yeah.
if you can like get to some of the essence, like I said, I realize it's an entire process and a methodology, but what is like that, one of the main pillars?
Yeah, it is an entire process. We could talk at length for days, but nobody
I'm
has time for
sure.
that. Any coach worth their mettle will tell you the art of the powerful question is where the secret sauce lies. I want when I want people to see beyond the role and see into them. I often start with what are your values? What are your priorities? Why do you keep coming back? Like what keeps you doing the thing that you do so that we can see the core and then build out. Like, okay, if that's truly your values and your priorities and what keeps you coming back now, what about what you're doing is misaligned? And kind of flip the conversation so they can view it from my shoes instead of theirs.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, because deep in the weeds, it's difficult to see that other perspective, that other angle that's from your vantage point.
Yeah, no
Obvious.
brainer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's obvious. Now, do you tap into your prior um any of your prior skills as a pilot? Do you tap into those and bring those into the coaching experience? Basically, what you learned in those high pressure situations where you know you had to act very conscientiously, I would imagine, and
Mhm.
make very calculated decisions, but also with a bigger view in mind. And I can't even imagine the training that you must have been through to gain that level of status. So, do you tap into those skills and experience and bring those to the table as well?
Yes, but not so much in planes are very technical and flying is very technical. You have to maintain a lot of knowledge in the brain. What I find pilot skills add to my coaching is I can keep track of a lot of your stuff. You can come in and sit in my chair and throw a ton of just information at me, and I can find the thread that you might not see.
Hmm, that's great. Yeah, I love that. I figured there must be something, and we all gain every step of our journey,
Mhm.
whether in the moment it seems like everything is going wrong, and I'm not implying that with you, but I'm just saying in general,
Yeah.
in the moment we can think, oh my God, this is so bad, this is awful, I shouldn't have done this, da 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 da. But
Mhm.
fast forward, and then 2020 hindsight is like, oh my God, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have learned this,
Yeah.
or I wouldn't have gained that perspective, or all those things that tend to build our own value as a coach,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
bring our unique perspectives, and knowledge and skills to the picture. So, well, I know that you shared a story of one of your clients. Is there any other story? Because I love hearing the transformation. Is there any other story that you can share with us of somebody that was in a situation at work and just felt like there was no end in sight?
Um, yeah, I think the most interesting stories that I have recently is I've worked with a couple of college students. And their generation coming out of COVID, seeing the job market being as volatile and nutso as it was, and working with them on a daily basis to keep the encouragement up, but also to keep their specificity and focus because they got panic mode. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a job that I even really want. I must apply for everything. That was what they came in with. And I was like, no, no, let's stay the course. Let's really focus on the things that you want. And now they're all out there thriving. One's changing jobs because the thing that he thought he wanted is ended up being a little bit too much reading. But the other ones are really thriving and taking shape and becoming team leaders and developing. And that was interesting times because usually it's the reverse. I'm telling people, apply to a multitude of different things, but these two, I was like, stay focused. This is your first stab at it. Don't just jump at the first shiny object. Let's really
Mm-hmm.
find the thing that is for you. So that was it was challenging because I hadn't worked with college kids before. So it was
Yeah,
interesting.
it's a different generation. Definitely, they have
Mhm.
a whole different level of values, I think, and
Yes.
as far as I know.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Do.
I have sons that are in their 20s, and their values are completely different than
Mhm.
when I was in my 20s. And
Yeah.
so it is a different dynamic. And that panic, like you said, that was created by the pandemic, and then, the political scene and the
Mhm.
economy and all these things
Mhm.
does put people into that. I've
Yep.
just got to hang on to one floating object here down this river. So
Yeah.
but
And it,
reassuring them and through your expert guidance to really tap into what matters most. So yeah, I love that. And you're obviously, very passionate about doing
yes.
this work, Sarah.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear your secret, because what I've discovered, over and over and over during the 7+ years that I've been coaching
Mhm.
coaches as well as energy workers and healers, is that, frequently the frustrations and challenges that arise from trying to build a business,
Mhm.
and the complexities of all of that, they didn't realize when they said yes to coaching, that came with it.
Mm.
Plus the, inconsistent results tends to dampen the passion that they once had. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, is this even worth it? Oh, want to give up. So, which is why, of course, I love being a business success coach, because I know that without a shadow of a doubt, with the right strategy, every coach and healer can have that thriving business.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what's your secret to refueling or keeping that passion for serving these emerging leaders and striving leaders?
Yeah.
But how do you stay at that level of like, oh, I can't wait to do my work?
I would be lying, Wendy, if I said I've always been like this. It's been fine since day one. That is not true. I've considered going back to the airlines a couple of times. I've considered going back to other stable things that I've been trained to do a couple of times. And what keeps me going is looking at it from, again, fresh eyes or from the what if. I love the Designing Your Life book of asking those deep questions and realizing that no, none of those other things lead to the life structure that I want. So and I do this with my clients too. I make them get real specific about how you want your day to look like from the moment your feet hit the ground to the moment you're getting back in bed. What do you want that to look like? Then find the role that fits that. And
Mm,
that's what keeps me coming back because nothing else out there has got that going on. And I
right.
think the other thing that keeps me doing it is I'm not afraid to try different things. So I've been a member of XYZ coaching platform. I've contracted with ABC, other corporation, all sorts of other things to finally find this right mix of combo-y things,
Mhm.
all coaching related that pump me up, that fuel me with energy. But it's taken time, years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And just being able to create it the way you want it is
Mhm.
what I'm hearing. Is you're the designer.
Mhm.
You can put it all together any way that you choose that serves not only your clients, of course, but also you. So
Yes.
yeah, I love that, because I believe that helping people to achieve those new levels of success, like you do, in their careers, and have more happiness, joy, right, on a daily basis, creates a huge ripple effect. Just think of how that impacts their report tos, right, and
Mhm.
the corporate leadership and the corporation in terms of how it serves.
Yeah.
The ripple effects just go on and on. It's infinite, really. One of
Mhm.
my mentors early in my career was Mark Victor Hansen.
Okay.
Now, co-author for the Chicken Soup for the Soul, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't just that. I mean, is tremendous visionary,
Yeah.
just very effervescent, and just a tremendous, brilliant businessman.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't his, like, he wasn't my personal mentor. I was within a mastermind that he and Bob Proctor started,
Mhm, mhm.
called the 3% Club, and it was just amazing
Yeah.
in terms of the insights that these two visionaries had, and expanded my brain like nothing else. And one of the things that Mark taught me, and of course thousands of others, is that he said, no, Wendy, you need to have just a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
Something that fuels your passion, something that gets you out of your own way, something that
Yeah.
just, is just, you know, gets you thinking big.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, in my, entrepreneurial pursuits,
Mhm.
I've always had that bigger, audacious goal.
Mhm.
And as a business coach, the thing that fuels me is this. Because I see it happening. This overall, I basically say my goal is to raise consciousness within
Mm.
humanity.
Mhm.
And I'm not doing it directly necessarily. I'm supporting coaches, healers, energy workers to
Yeah.
do their work, right?
Yeah.
And make their impact. And that's that infinite ripple effect.
Yeah.
So, that's what fuels me,
Yeah.
because the work that you do, like I just described, creates that ripple effect, not only for the individual and their family, but the corporations, and it just goes on and on. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Sarah. Do you have a bigger vision, a big audacious goal or vision for yourself or your business?
Yeah. These days, and I think it will continue because it's such a vital conversation. And it started actually with those two college students that I mentioned. My goal is to be the mouthpiece for the Gen Z leaders.
Ah,
Uh, I'm so passionate about their plight because I remember being the millennial leader
yeah,
and what people thought of us and what people didn't like about us or had
right.
preconceived notions, and nobody was really out there advocating on their
Mhm.
behalf, on my behalf. So that is what I want to be for them. I actually have several dates now booked for my upcoming my talk on Gen Z leading, not leading Gen Z. We've all been talking about that. Like we all like, how do you lead these people? That's fine. Oldest Gen Zers are 28 people. They are your leaders. They are stepping into those roles. When I was 28, I was flying planes into combat.
Yeah, yeah,
So, um, so that's what I want to do. I want to be that mouthpiece, that trusted agent, that person that not only coaches them, I love them. I want to coach more of them because they are emerging leaders. They fit my obviously space, but I want to talk to their mid and senior leaders about how are they leading? How can you develop them? That
yeah.
is my space.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And such an important position to take, because they are going to craft and design our new reality. So
Hmm.
yeah, I love that. I
Hmm.
love, supporting them to lean into, that alignment with what they value and what they see for the world. So yeah, fantastic. Gives me kind of goosebumps just thinking about the ripple effects there. So, well,
Right.
Sarah, what's the best next step for leaders who know they're meant for more, who are emerging or striving, or on that trajectory, but just kind of feel like there are all these things that are standing in their way, these impediments. What's their next best step if they're curious about working with you?
Yeah, would love to have you, obviously. You can find me at arrowhead-leadership.com. That is where we have all of our things out there. I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah Jones Carter. You can easily click the book appointment, which I just found out does actually work. So you can actually book an appointment there and we can chat. Would love to get you unstuck and moving forward.
Okay, fantastic. Well, listeners, just look in the show notes for those that link. And again, thank you so much, Sarah. I've really enjoyed hearing about your journey, and just you expanding our view of the type of happiness and success that truly is possible for these leaders that are really striving for more. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time and I appreciate the work that you're doing.
My pleasure. Thank you, Wendy.
All right. Well, the real life transformations facilitated by experts like my guest today are truly priceless. I mean, happiness, joy, peace, love, right? These are all what each of us ultimately strives for in life. But becoming a sought after and well-paid coach or energy healer is often challenging, overwhelming, and frustrating. So if you're a heart-centered coach, expert, or energy healer who's striving for more ease, flow, and abundance, well, I've created a special gift just for you. So check out the show notes. All right, well, this is Wendy Vaughn signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to join me for my next episode where we'll be inspired by yet another Impact Maker's journey.